The summer of 2025 was meant to be a time of quiet learning for the students in Summerville. For one young girl, known only as Jane Doe, it became something else entirely. Her days were shadowed by a secret she could not share, one that began to unravel through the vigilance of others. Parents of another student attending the same summer classes noticed a recurring, unsettling pattern. A black Jeep, sleek and anonymous, would appear like clockwork to pick up and drop off Jane Doe. This was not a family vehicle they recognized, nor did it belong to any known friend. The regularity of its appearance, coupled with the secrecy surrounding it, planted a seed of concern that would soon grow into a full-scale investigation. This initial observation was the first thread pulled in a tapestry of deception. The concerned parents, trusting their instincts, felt compelled to report what they had seen. It was a small act of community watchfulness, but one that would prove monumental. The authorities took their report seriously, understanding that such seemingly minor details can often be the key to uncovering far greater dangers lurking just beneath the surface of everyday life. The description of the black Jeep became the central clue for detectives, a tangible link to the unknown individual who had inserted himself into the life of a vulnerable middle school student. The quiet suburban streets, once a symbol of safety, now held a sense of unease. Detectives from the local precinct immediately began their work. They methodically pieced together the information, tracing the vehicle's movements and searching for its registered owner. The license plate, captured by witnesses, led them down a digital path that ended at a specific address, 2095 State Road, Summerville, South Carolina. The home belonged to a man named Kwame Jamal Winston. Suddenly, the anonymous driver of the black Jeep had a name and a face. Investigators now had a person of interest, and the focus of their inquiry narrowed significantly. The abstract fear that had hovered over the community was beginning to coalesce around a single individual. The investigation was handled with the utmost care, a delicate balance of gathering evidence while protecting the young victim at the center of it all. Each step was deliberate, calculated to build an irrefutable case before making any direct contact. The detectives understood the gravity of the potential crime and the profound impact it could have on everyone involved. The black Jeep was no longer just a vehicle. It was a symbol of a trust that had been violated, a boundary that had been crossed. The quiet, diligent work of law enforcement was about to bring a dark secret into the harsh light of day, forever altering the lives of those it touched. When authorities finally arrived at 2095 State Road to confront Kwame Winston, they were met not with remorse or denial, but with a shocking and defiant defense. Faced with the evidence of his interactions with Jane Doe, Winston did not retreat. Instead, he launched into a startling monologue, attempting to justify his actions with a twisted interpretation of history and a call for radical legal change. He argued that the United States was, in his view, historically built upon relationships between older men and much younger girls, a statement that stunned the seasoned officers. It was a bizarre and self-serving attempt to normalize behavior that modern society overwhelmingly condemns as predatory and harmful. Winston's defensiveness escalated into a full-throated declaration of his personal crusade. He told the officers that he was willing to face a life sentence if it meant he could become a martyr for his cause. His stated goal was to advocate for lowering the legal age of consent to 12 years old. This proclamation revealed a deeply disturbing mindset, one that dismissed the fundamental principles of child protection and psychological development. He was not merely a man caught in a compromising situation. He presented himself as a revolutionary, willing to sacrifice his own freedom to dismantle the very laws designed to safeguard children from exploitation. This encounter painted a chilling portrait of an individual utterly convinced of his own righteousness, despite the clear legal and ethical boundaries he had crossed. His statements were not those of a person who had made a terrible mistake, but of someone who believed the rules of society simply did not, or should not, apply to him. The officers on the scene were dealing with more than just a criminal suspect. They were facing an ideologue whose beliefs posed a direct threat to the safety and well-being of minors. His willingness to serve life in prison for his cause was not a sign of contrition, but a measure of his profound detachment from societal norms. The confrontation at his home provided prosecutors with powerful evidence of his mindset and intent. His words were a direct challenge to the justice system and the moral fabric of the community. In his own mind, he was a misunderstood advocate fighting against unjust laws. To the rest of the world, however, he was a predator attempting to rationalize the unthinkable. The stark contrast between his self-perception and the reality of his actions highlighted the deep and dangerous chasm that can exist in the mind of an offender, making the subsequent legal proceedings all the more critical for public safety. The case against Kwame Winston solidified quickly, culminating in a series of severe felony charges that reflected the gravity of his alleged crimes. The prosecution leveled 5 distinct counts against him, each one carrying significant legal consequences. The first 2 charges, sexual misconduct with a minor under the age of 16 and child seduction, specifically addressed the predatory nature of grooming and exploiting a child's trust. These laws are designed to protect minors from the manipulative actions of adults who leverage their age and authority to initiate inappropriate relationships. The charges painted a clear picture of a calculated betrayal of innocence. The legal jeopardy for Winston deepened considerably with the inclusion of 2 counts of rape under the age of 13. These are among the most serious offenses in the criminal code, as they involve a victim who is legally incapable of consent due to their extreme youth. Such charges carry the potential for decades, if not life, in prison, underscoring society's absolute intolerance for the sexual violation of young children. The inclusion of these specific charges suggested that the investigation had uncovered evidence of acts that went far beyond an inappropriate relationship, pointing to a pattern of severe and repeated abuse against Jane Doe. Adding to the list of felonies was a charge of resisting law enforcement causing bodily harm. This indicated that Winston's defiance was not merely verbal, it had turned physical during his encounter with the authorities. This charge demonstrated a propensity for violence and a complete disregard for legal authority, further cementing the prosecution's narrative of a dangerous and unpredictable individual. It showed that his rebellion against societal norms extended to a physical confrontation with the very people tasked with upholding the law, adding another layer of criminality to his profile and complicating any potential defense strategy. Together, these 5 felony charges created a formidable legal barrier for Winston. The implications were life-altering, pointing towards a future spent behind bars. The weight of the justice system was now fully upon him, prepared to hold him accountable for the profound harm he was accused of inflicting. The case moved from the quiet streets of Summerville into the formal, solemn environment of the courtroom, where the evidence would be presented, and a verdict would ultimately determine his fate. For the community and for Jane Doe's family, the legal process represented the first step toward accountability and hopefully healing. The fallout from Kwame Winston's arrest rippled far beyond the courtroom, creating waves of shock and disgust throughout the community and the digital world he once inhabited. Before his downfall, Winston had cultivated a public persona on YouTube under the alias Master of All Bulldogs. His channel, which had enjoyed a degree of popularity, was a facade that masked the dark secrets of his private life. Once the charges became public, the reaction was swift and decisive. YouTube, adhering to its terms of service regarding the protection of minors, promptly removed his channel, erasing his digital footprint and severing his connection to his audience. This action was a clear statement that such behavior would not be tolerated on the platform. The societal reaction was one of collective revulsion. The details of the case, particularly Winston's bizarre and chilling justifications for his actions, sparked widespread condemnation. This case served as a stark and horrifying reminder of the dangers that can hide in plain sight, even within one's own community. It highlighted the critical importance of child protection laws and the societal consensus that views any adult-minor sexual relationship as an abuse of power and a profound violation of trust. The story was not just about one man's crimes, but about the bedrock principles that society must continually defend to keep its youngest members safe from harm. Ultimately, the legal process reached its inevitable conclusion. Kwame Winston was convicted, and his name was added to the sex offender registry, a designation he is required to maintain for the rest of his life. This permanent status serves as a lasting public record of his crimes and a warning to the community. It is a legal mechanism designed to prevent future offenses by tracking convicted individuals and restricting their access to potential victims. For Winston, it is a permanent brand, a consequence of his actions that will follow him long after any prison sentence is served, a constant reminder of the lives he irrevocably damaged. The case of Kwame Winston leaves a lasting scar, not only on the life of Jane Doe, but on the conscience of the community. It underscores the deep and enduring trauma inflicted upon victims of such betrayal, a psychological weight that can last a lifetime. It also serves as a powerful testament to the importance of vigilance, the strength of the justice system in holding predators accountable, and the unwavering societal belief that childhood must be protected at all costs. The dark tale of Kwame Winston is a cautionary one, a story of betrayal that reinforces the sacred duty we all share to shield the innocent from those who would do them harm.